Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the XDI Live Show. I am Brian Spellman.
And I'm Andrew Sparrow. Today we have a fun-filled packed show full of fun and education and some information along the way.
Hopefully some good information, but we're going to begin with something a little bit different today. Andrew, we're going to, without even introducing everybody, we're just going to bring all of our guests on at once and have a little bit of a contest, okay? So all of the contestants are going to get 1 minute to tell us why their area of expertise is the best. And if they go over that minute, I'm just going to mute them so they can't talk anymore. And it's possible I may make you a contestant too. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring everybody on.
Sounds good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We will, of course, let you talk about who you are and give you real good introductions as we begin each of your interviews. But for right now, we're just going to dive in and we're going to start randomly with with Charlie. Charlie, you're going to get 1 minute to tell us why your area is the best area, better than all the others on the screen. You've got 1 minute and go.
Great. Okay, so I'm representing manufacturing, and that's clearly the best area because if you look behind me, I've got a bike on the wall, which is a passion of mine. And without manufacturing, we wouldn't have these fantastic contraptions. But no, on a more serious side for me, what I love about it is the fact everything what goes into it, the planning, the preparation, the software side, but the tangible element as well of manufacturing. When you see a 700-ton press stamping out components in a factory where the floor's shaking when it's doing it, it's a pretty impressive thing to experience. So I think this is why manufacturing is the best area to be working in here. Hands down.
So we've heard why manufacturing is the best. And Matt, you now have 1 minute and go.
Thank you, Brian. First and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, and I have two lovely daughters in the early 20s. I can talk about them for hours, but I only have 1 minute. So, however, they constantly challenge me on how I can contribute to drive a more sustainable way of living. And I think we can agree to do that as a society. It requires massive new thinking and innovation at scale. I'm privileged to work at Dassault System, which core purpose is to help people imagine sustainable innovation. So on behalf of my daughters, I really feel responsible to do what I can in my wake hours to help companies harmonize our human existence with nature to secure our planet's future. I know it's a bit high-flying, but that's it. Sustainability.
Yeah.
So get around and listen in.
Bring it in the family card. I like it. All right. And Håkan, you have 1 minute and go.
It's obvious, Brian. I'm an orchestra leader, and I also contribute by playing instrument myself, like piano, trumpet, brass, a little other.
All at the same time?
No, I will come to that.
Don't interrupt and take up his time.
Minute.
That's cheating.
Don't go in. But I'm also, and this is my point, I'm also very good to orchestrate and get the orchestrator working well together. And the reason is I don't need to shine myself. I love to see actually people shining around me. And this is, I think, is a little Swedish. And you probably saw the song contest this weekend, Melody Festival, where Sweden won again. It's the 7th time. It's actually we are #1 country in that contest.
Wow. Yeah.
And my final punch is these skills I'm also can use and using in my business. So when leading and also orchestrate teams and playing some instrument rules myself.
Just under a minute. Fantastic. All right. So, Nick, you've got 1 minute. Go.
Why is my area the best? Well, optimization. We get to play with the best toys. We can be planning air traffic controllers, keeping you sustainably in the air. It's not very sustainable if you crash. We can be planning railways, making sure that you get there. We can build in the cars that you move around in. And as for production, if you haven't got an optimized plan, what you're going to produce, and it's not going to be very good, is it? So quite clearly, optimization, got to be the winner. I'm done.
And efficient, under 30 seconds. All right, Greg, and go.
Awesome. No, I feel like I've got an easy one here. I'm in the resource management side of things. People are a necessity. You can't build teams without people. I'd say you can't develop software without people, but AI is helping with that. But then you've got you've got to have people to put the prompts in. Not only are they essential, having the right people and cohesive teams is usually what sets teams apart. You listen to everybody that just heard made arguments for me. Mad's children drive him to do what he does. Charlie's bike wouldn't be made without or for people. Hakan loves supporting and orchestrating the people around him. Nick loves optimizing plans to produce things for people. So at the end of the day, people is the engine. That's my argument.
Wow. So Greg also listened to everybody too. That was impressive. All right, Julian, you've got 1 minute and go.
Yeah, so I will be short. I'm working with startup because in startup people are young, as they want to try everything. They are fast, so that led me to try every solution and not just to be stuck in just one field, like Charlie, for example. And so I have an overview of the market. I can talk to everybody with any subject, like engineering, simulation, marketing stuff. So I'm really, flexible.
All right, Andrew, you've got 1 minute and go.
Okay, I mean, follow that, but okay, here it is. This is it. So I come from the Elon Musk school of thought. That means learn how to manufacture at scale, not just manufacturing, at scale. We've spent the best part of 40 years as a base offshoring, trying to cut our costs. We've spent billions on digital engineering, but now we have volatile supply chains. Human resources are getting more expensive, even in China, in India, and in Bangladesh, and all these other places. But we, the consumer, want smarter, better, more personalized products faster. And manufacturing has been largely ignored over the last 20 to 40 years, other than spending a bit on a few IoT devices and a few platforms. It just gives you a whole bunch more of data.
And we could just keep letting Andrew talk.
Come on. Our real challenge is taking great products and learning how to manufacture at scale. That's me. Have I done a minute yet, or am I? 10?
Oh yeah, you're over. That's why.
Shut up.
Good effort.
I'm just warming up, guys.
Yeah, that was good. So I'm pretty sure that right now before I make my final result here, I will give anybody who wants, you can have a 30-second rebuttal. So raise your hand if you think you need a 30-second rebuttal. Anybody? Nope, everybody's good. All right. I think that the winner has just got to be this is just my humble opinion, but the puppet master who says he could basically control everybody else, which is Greg here. He can just, bring anybody into the team or move them. I don't know. That seems pretty
He's
powerful.
right. Without people, we're all dead in the water, aren't we? Yeah.
People seem important.
Yeah.
Now thanks everybody for joining in on a fun way just to start the show. I like the energy that everybody has here from this, and I think that was pretty fun. Let's get on to the meat, the real meat of this show. What are we all talking about today, Andrew?
What's coming up? We've got sustainable product life cycle in Denmark. We've got accelerated manufacturing over in Northern Europe, optimized supply chains, planning and manufacturing, and even some, as we just heard, lots of people stuff, human resources, human optimization. Yeah. So everybody, audience, please ask questions. Give us your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. Ask away. We're lovely. We'll grab them as we go. I think that's it. So let's get ready. Let's get set and let's go.
Let's do it. So welcome to the European section of the show. We've gone global here. I'm from America. Hakan is here from Stockholm, and Andrew is representing Australia.
Number one, yeah, I am not Australian. For sure, I am out of the UK, albeit a few years ago. I've got my bags packed. I'm ready to go to Europe. What's the first stop?
And I just had to do that to you, Andrew, because you always tell me you get frustrated when people think you're Australian. And just as a quick side note, once during one of our XDI Zoom conference meetings, you were talking, my wife was in the other room. She's like, oh, is that guy from Australia? So it just happened.
Gee.
Everybody Australian.
Hawken's wife is the same.
Yeah, my wife did the same actually. He's Australian. No, he's not. It's true. It's a true story.
But yeah, your bags are packed, are ready to go, and our first stop is going to be. I think we're going to head to Denmark, where we're going to talk about sustainability.
Yes. And Denmark have also different language. I'm Swede, and Danish we talk the same, but it's some tweaking there. You will hear that probably from Mats, because I'm not doing this myself. I will have Mats with me here, who is actually working in Denmark and knows, of course, what's happening in Denmark. But before we go into that and talk a little with you, Mats, I want just to tell everyone that I want to revisit this topic because we mentioned it. I've talked about it in January timeframe. You remember we had a talk about trends, and one of the trends was sustainability, and it's a very important one. And Denmark is, at least for me, this is my own view, very on the edge, very invested a lot in this and do a lot in this area. They have a lot of companies, and also the government is doing a lot in this area. So actually a very interesting area. And I think we have a lot to learn from these guys. So this is the reason why we put Denmark on the spot.
Yeah, and
then
Denmark on the spot.
You, Mats, but perhaps I should ask you to jump in here a little and share a little shortly about sustainability. Go directly to the topic, and then we can discuss it a little. And in then big focus on the Denmark market, of course. So what is your observation, Mats?
So Mats is the you've known him for a while. He's worked in pre-sales and I believe heads up DS in Denmark, our Dassault systems in Denmark. And so Mats, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Brian and Håkan and Andrew.
Good to see you.
And so diving in, I know that we're about to answer that question Håkan posed to you, and before we get to there, I just want to give a second for you to give us your elevator speech of how you like to introduce yourself.
First of all, I'm passionate about sustainability, and living in Denmark, I think constitutes a good basis to live out that dream, as I talked about, also for the benefit of my girls and for the world. And I think I just want to talk a little bit about Denmark first as a sort of nest for sustainable thinking. I think if you land in Copenhagen, you see people riding on bicycles everywhere. That's an indicator that you could say Denmark is a sustainable country and thinks sustainably. But also, I think we are reputed as a leader in, for example, offshore wind-based renewable energy ecosystems. And as Håkan mentioned, why is that? And I think it is very much related to the triangular relation between the parliament, universities, and businesses in Denmark. And that's what I'm here to support. So basically, the parliament is by public mandate, you could say they drive sustainability by legislation, both in terms of regulations, but also incentives. And that constitutes a motivating environment for the universities and businesses to come up with innovative thinking towards more sustainability, which is, of course, good for the planet, but also good for Danish business and the world. And I think we have good things going in Denmark on this. And like Dassault Systems, there's actually 3 companies in Denmark who's been awarded as the world's most sustainable companies by Corporate Knights in the last years, which is Christian Hansen, Vestas, and Ørsted. And of course, you could say in my role, I want to further support and accelerate that through the offerings that we have in Dassault Systems, which I will come back to. But first and foremost, I and my team try to support both the educational sector by sourcing innovation software for sustainable research at DTU, Aalborg University, Aarhus University. We also want to source, like Julian, software for innovation for new starters and upscalers, that they get tools that they might not afford in the first place to really mature their sustainable innovations and products. So there's a lot to be proud of in Denmark, and there's a lot to do also, because as many other Western countries, Denmark actually hits the World Overshoot Day or the Danish Overshoot Day in late March. Many countries in the Western world does that. I think the crux is, for me as a person, but also as a country, is that we need to innovate massively to support the way we live, but actually hit an overshoot date like Jamaica in December. That must be the goal for everybody, or even later for that matter. I think that's what gets me up in the morning and what's important for me.
Mats, sorry, by the way, I'm a Swede, you know, I jumped to the topic directly, and Brian is more polite, he's American, so he introduced you. That's sorry.
That is the first time on record anybody has called Americans polite. Thank you.
I do my best, Brian. I worked on that. Yeah, but I was thinking here, going back to the topic, why do you think you have been become in this position? I know what you shared, but what are you doing different in Denmark? What is the enablers to be in that position you shared for us?
I think you could say the triangular relation between the parliament, universities, and businesses is one key element. But I also think that actually it's down to innovation. And I want to touch on two things. Maybe you could say the Danish culture really motivates innovative thinking. In most companies, I tend to believe that people feel empowered. And we're operating in quite flat organizations. So there's not an exclusivity on getting good ideas that can support sustainable innovation. I think that's one element. I think the other element is what we in Dassault calls the 3 pillars of sustainable innovation, that you would say, because we dare to think innovatively, both on the first pillar, business model transformation, really rethink our business models, but also, of course, more traditionally product and services and ways of working. That's sort of the 3 pillars. And if we start with the first, business model transformation, you could say, how can we innovate our business models to become more sustainable and future-proof? And I think Danish companies are starting, as many other places, but we are really not thinking of the company itself, but are seeing it in the context of the entire value chain with supply chain, but also the customers, because the environmental load is across that, right? And we need to get away from last centuries sort of making a product, use it and dispose it, right? We need to get into a more circular way, so we leave no waste like nature. And I think the business model transformation that Danish companies are looking at is gravitating towards more circular models. So that's one thing.
Yeah, just Mats, what you mean is you reuse of material. If you produce a car, try to reuse more material from that to build a new car.
Yes, exactly. That's a circularity, right? That you would say, how can we innovate products that requires less resource to manufacture and energy, and uses less energy when being operated, and are 100% recyclable. I think, and on top of that, make them last longer, right? So the resources we spend on them is utilized in a longer term duration than normally anticipated. And then
so we kind of talk about design for manufacturing. We're now talking design for sustainability, design for recycling, etc. The whole closed loop here.
Yes, and I think you would say even beyond that, also thinking how can we innovate products that could be sold as a service rather than you could say we sell and forget. But we really sell a capacity as a service, because that is really entertaining circular thinking. So that requires some new ways of defining your products to offer them as a service rather than selling them and then do sporadic service of them.
So what you're bringing up here, I think is super interesting. It's not just innovative in create new products. That's obvious, and we have talked about that, and we'll probably come to that a little later. But also be innovate how to the business model, the environment to put this product. And this is where you do a different thing, as you shared here in Denmark.
Exactly. And maybe one last comment is and that's a little bit related to what we heard about human resource, right? How can we innovate and define better ways of working? How can we re-engineer our processes to accelerate innovation and you could say utilizing the most modern technologies, but also attract the workforce of the future. And I think that's key. For example, my girls, I know for a fact that they will certainly not work for a company who do not have a clear sustainability agenda. So I think we need to innovate both on business model, the product and services specifically, but also the way we work, you could say, the workforce of the future. All three components, I think, is important. And Danish companies are doing a reasonably good job at that. We can always do better, right, to get to Jamaica overshoot in December, right? But we are getting there.
Yeah, super interesting, Mats. But if you have the business model, you have an innovative approach, and you are do a lot in the sustainability area. What if we go down to you mentioned it at the beginning, what technologies do you think is key to make this happen?
Exactly. I think technology is an absolutely key element here. And maybe one thing, we and Accenture did a study recently where you could say how can technology enable and accelerate sustainable innovation? You can find it on the web. But I think one key finding across multiple use cases and across multiple industries is the adoption of what we call virtual twin approach as a key enabler to accelerate. And what do I mean by that? If you proactively, progressively engage your assets in your PLM system to create a digital replica of the phenomena you want to investigate, that could be a component, right? It could be an assembly. It could be a system. It could be a system of systems for that matter, or even a business model. And then on that digital replica, apply digital simulation to do fast exploration of multiple what-if scenarios. And I think you could say by doing that virtually, you can cover a lot of ground very fast, so you can avoid just to settle with good enough, right? You can really aim for the optimal configuration against your KPIs. And I guess you could say in the spirit of sustainability, it's not just time, cost, and quality, right? It's much more than that. It's the KPIs related to environmental, human, social, financial capital. So virtual twins, I think, the approach enables you to really engage your PLM system and ask and answer very complex questions regarding how you can improve sustainability in what you do as a business and on your products and with your workforce.
So virtual twin, you see, is the key. If you have to bring up one
element.
I understand. I just have to tell you, wake up because I worked in Denmark in the past, and it's actually too funny what you're sharing here, because then I worked with wind turbine companies. I should not mention names, and they doing blades, and the blades are getting longer and longer. It's now far below 100 meters. And when I start to think, you say innovative, you have to find out how to build these blades and produce them. It's not the easy task. You need to be innovative, as you shared. And then you also need to transport. So you need a business model. You don't just produce it. You need to take it to the plant, wind plant. And how do you transport 100 meter plus 120 meter? You don't fly it there. So then I know you guys in Denmark have built special roads to the harbor to take it there. And this is showing I think the difference you're doing a lot in Denmark. One example actually experienced by myself.
Yeah, and I think that's a good example that if you just focus on manufacturing the blade, right, you miss the point. Actually, I think it's in the range of 70-80% of the cost of a blade being mounted on an offshore wind turbine is associated to the transportation. So you need to think holistically, right?
Yes.
And that's where virtual twin thinking can enable you to make the right decisions.
I think one interesting thing I'm noticing in these conversations that we have talking about sustainability, this one and last month's too, is that I think sustainability used to be something that was almost an afterthought for companies. They're like, hey, we should also add this as something that we're doing. But more and more, it's really becoming clear that this is actually more of a driving factor that is also helping to help other areas of the business. If you can figure out how to transport better, of course, that helps sustainability, also helps with, just your bottom line for cost and everything too. So it's a change in the way a lot of people are viewing all of this together.
Exactly. And I think you could say, as we are moving into product as a service, often that demands smarter products that is more connected, which it requires, you could say, multidisciplinary design, right? There's much more disciplines in play. It's much more complex. So you need systems engineering and other tools, right, to build your virtual twin and really capture the requirements and orchestrate, as Håkan said, all the work that leads to a solution that you can actually sell as a service rather than sell a washing machine, for example, or whatever it is. So we are in very exciting times.
Yeah, it sounds exciting, and I want to thank you for giving us some of your time and part of this exciting times to help talk about this. And I know that our train is leaving for the next stop, and you've got the sustainable, environmentally friendly train is leaving for the next stop. But
yeah, I hope my daughters were proud of me today.
I'm sure they will. You'll have to give us feedback. Let us know what they thought.
Absolutely, will do.
Great job.
Good.
Thanks for being with us, Mats.
Take care.
Thanks, Matt.
Andrew, your next stop in Europe, where did you want to stop next?
That was fascinating, and hopefully very sustainable. I think we need to go manufacturing.
You always want to go manufacturing. Well, I know just the guy. I believe Håkan has. We all know from he's a regular guest on this show and has now actually brought some of his team with him. And so I know that Charlie Lane is newly joined XDI for EuroNorth. He has 12 years of experience with industrial equipment and has worked with factories, global distribution, and seen the inner working. So we can bring Charlie on to talk about that. And what else was it you wanted?
Well, I mean, I think we not only manufacturing, we also need to talk about startups, the opportunities that revolve around those. We talked about in the early stages and managing some of their business challenges for them as well. So.
Yeah, I think there's another member of Håkan's team, Julian Grandin, who he worked at XDI France. Actually, apparently moved from Reunion Island to the Nordics, and he's kind of a startup himself. So I think he can help us talk about that as well. So, Håkan, with your permission, I'll bring these two guys on, or without it too. Hey, everybody.
Hello, guys.
Reunion Island. Wow. Wow.
We can come back to that, Andrew, if you want.
Yeah. It's a long way.
So just I will give you airtime, both of you guys, but I want just to explain. It's not just happened that we took this session. So we have this part in these sessions. So we have a lot of focus in Europe, and Andrew, I saw you a little joked about that. So it's true that manufacturing again, because manufacturing is not a new topic, but it's actually a big challenge, and it's a lot of people looking into this, how to do the investment IT talk in the manufacturing part, where you can't stop manufacturing. You need to have control over the rollout, you need high quality, and also this investment is normally quite heavy. So this is a challenge for the companies out there. And we happen to have, and I will pass over to you soon, Charlie, one person here who's really focusing. Charlie has a long background in this area, not only where he is now. And it's actually very exciting to listen to him. And by the way, he is also passionate bicycle. I heard that in the beginning. I learned that. So manufacturing is key for him. No bicycle should exist without any manufacturing. So I think if I can pass over to you, Charlie, actually, I can ask a question also to be fair to help you start up is, what risk do you think companies should avoid when they do the value, the investment, and maximum the value when they do the investment of MEA solution? Let us go that direction to be more specific.
Yeah, okay, no problem. And thank you for having me, guys. Great to be a part of the show. Yeah. I've seen the fame that previous people have propelled to since doing it, so I'm on that track now.
You bet.
Yeah, well, manufacturing, the enterprise itself is probably the largest enterprise we have in business, certainly within Europe. So there's such a large scale on it. You've got businesses who are well into it, businesses who are executing it very well and reaping the benefits, who are very large. But then you also have businesses at the other end who are small scale and probably think, you know, a MES solution or a digital solution they're too small for it, which isn't the case. So I think one of the things which is really important is don't be scared to look into it and address it and explore and assess what it can do for your business, even if you're working with the most rudimental system in the world. The other important thing is when you're looking at it, manufacturing is at the center of your business. It's the beating heart. It's feeding other processes and it's being fed by other processes as well. And it's important that not only do you get the value out of your manufacturing, but you ensure things like your digital thread from engineering into manufacturing, you're maximizing that as well to get the value out of the complete picture.
I think I'd missed that actually in the beginning of this. What we're planning is, and now you talk very fast and did a quick introduction, but the plan is that we try to make some more space for you in coming session and coming live show. But
Charlie, do you mind if I just butt in? Charlie, just, you're talking about manufacturing execution systems. What are some of the benefits you're seeing customers are getting from an implementation of an MES? What's the kind of return on investment they should expect?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. And yeah, I mean, the immediate benefits that come to mind are things like you've got your traceability and you're working with real-time data, and you can see an improvement in your quality. All these can contribute to the running costs of your MES system and drive operation costs down. But also with this real-time information you're working with, it gives you the ability to do preventative maintenance, which again, that's eliminating the disruption on your production lines, and that can help with the running costs. And also to echo some of the things Mads is saying, apart from the obvious immediate benefits to the business, there is the sustainability topic. It's a big pressure on all businesses. And if you know what your machinery is doing, if it's overclocking and running too hot and you're wasting energy, you're actually drawing energy you don't need, well, you can wind that back, and that all helps towards improving the planet, but also the sustainability charters which these businesses have imposed on them now.
Got it.
Charlie, one more question. I actually did not plan to have a question, but I have to ask one more, as Andrew asked. So what is your advice, based on your experience? Doesn't need to be, it's not the exact answer. How should you, if you were a buyer, how should you approach when you do this investment? How do you sort out what you need? What is your advice there?
Well, as you pointed out earlier, it's not an easy thing to approach. It's a big undertaking, and that's what I probably think scares most people from it. But the most important thing is to ensure you do a good assessment of your operation. And this will take up a little bit of time. Some people within your business can take up the time. But if you engage in this process, you can, within a short space of time, build up a strong picture with an assessment of your business and what it needs, and you work with the correct people. They can give you an insight into exactly what you need in order to take that investment forwards, because what's important is you get the most out of it. So, a couple of months of invested time there can lead to an absolute lifetime of improvement with your production processes.
And how big, and this my last question, I promise. If you look in average, how long investment do you think, and how long time could a MES implementation normally take? Quite long time. That's natural. Yeah. But, you have seen a trend here. I know it's shortened down. Isn't that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably not as big as undertaking as people think. And I'm well aware of processes out there, but once you hit the switch and you go with that implementation, you can have that in place and be up and running within 12 weeks, where you're in a position to, you can actually start to measure your return on investment within 12 weeks, which, as we know, in the world of manufacturing, that's not very long at all.
Yeah. It's very short, much. I'm impressed. And I guess we shouldn't go there, but you have some reference on that, but let's leave that. I just want to say one more thing before we leave this topic, Brian. I guess you want to continue. Is that Charlie? I happen to know that because I work a little close with you, that you will go to UK, or you are in UK, sorry, to the manufacturing week in June, and actually are available there. If someone listening to this interested to talk more to Charlie, sharing experience, that's what I mean. You should reach out to Charlie, and I think you have some bandwidth. I hope at least you have some bandwidth there to give some, if people are interested, to talk to them.
Yeah, I've always got bandwidth to talk to people
Yeah,
about
I know
manufacturing. No worries there, Hawking. But yeah, Manufacturing Engineering Week is going on next month, the 7th and 8th of June. It's taking place at the NEC. To be fair, the tickets to it are free. You just need to register. So yeah, reach out. Love the opportunity to talk to anybody there about manufacturing. Yeah,
Cool.
just reach out. Thank you.
Thanks. Should we? It's little to you, Brian. Should we go over to new starters?
Yeah, we could start up starters. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So the last topic from Europe this time is new starters. We have already mentioned innovation and sustainability. Actually, a lot of is connected to what I talked with Mats about. And so new starter, we have a lot of companies. They have a lot of ideas to create new products, but it's also a challenge for them to make their product commercial. It's some stuff need to be in place to make that happen. And this is the reason why we have Julian with us, as he said also in the beginning. He is working a lot with this topic. He's young, but already have a lot of experience around this. And he also, that's also the funny that you're young, but many of these startup companies is young people too, so they connect really well together. So I would like to, if I can ask you, Julian, you can share some thoughts about what do you see in general around challenges these companies have, and what key enablers do you think they should think on to succeed?
Yeah, so just to put a bit of context, I already worked in France with XDI on startup account. So I know well how they are working and how they are thinking. And from my experience, I truly believe that today a startup need to have, since its beginning, the right tool and the right workflow to succeed, because the market is going really, really fast. There is a lot of competitor. If you don't have the tool or the services to go with it, you will not succeed. But if you, from the beginning, you have the right tool, such as Dassault system tools, and the right PDM, PLM, how to manage your data, how to manage the people, how is having to collaborate, you will succeed. And why am I working in startup in Sweden or in Nordics? It's because I don't know if you ever seen the numbers about startup there, but for example, Sweden is the first in Europe, the first country with the most startup per capita. So for me, it's really easy to connect and to talk to people because we are just surrounded by them. And the more important is that it's not like startup creating boring things, if I can say it like that. It's startup that are doing challenging things like autonomous vehicle, space, batteries, a lot of sustainability too. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think also, you didn't mention it, but I just tell you, if I understand, you're planning to go down to Göteborg in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, in 2 weeks, we have the VEX talking about autonomous vehicle, sustainable vehicles. So almost everything around automotive, but in the future. And of course, there will be some Nordics startup. And if you are in our viewer, just reach out to me.
What did you say the name of that was, the event?
VEX.
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 So you can see Charlie at Manufacturing Engineering Week and Julian at VEX.
Absolutely.
I can write it here, Brian, in the chat. Can't I?
Yep.
Yeah, do it.
So yeah, we've had that's exciting, and it sounds like this working with Charlie and Julian and what's happening with Håkan in the Nordics. There's a lot of these various topics and areas that are all coming together nicely to support. We heard from Mats how your sustainability really is a driving factor in what's happening, which I'm sure is playing into what Julian's talking about with startups, and Charlie with the manufacturing. And it's just fun watching all these puzzle pieces fitting together, which is actually an unplanned cool transition to our next topic too. But yeah, thank you everybody from this whole European section of the world for joining us and giving us some thoughts and perspectives on what's happening with the stuff that I'm pretty sure is applicable to all of the world, even though you all seem to think that your geographic area is the best.
Cheers, Brian. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
And yeah, I did say that there was an unplanned transition there, which is because I know for a fact that our next guest really does like puzzles. When I was talking to him earlier this week, he really emphasized how that's something that's fantastic to do both inside and outside of work. So our viewers will note that we have often had a guest on this show talking about what's happening with the Logic Factory and what's going on with DELMIA and Quintic. And we're continuing that trend by bringing in Nick, who is an industry process consultant with the Logic Factory. He was actually a Quintic customer and started using Quintic, I think 14 years ago, and was actually working with some of the founding members of Quintic. So he's been doing this for a while, and we're excited to have him on board with another exciting conversation. So Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Welcome, Nick. So where are you?
Andrew.
Where are you based, Nick?
I'm up in Liverpool, looking across the Albert Dock.
Liverpool, that's the home of the Beatles, right?
Hey, don't go there. You know, I said don't mention the Beatles.
Don't mention
I must be one of the few people in the world that has a passionate hatred of the Beatles.
You don't like boy bands then?
Probably not as much as Mads's two girls do. No.
Wow. So you really like that show where the Beatles just disappeared from the earth, whatever that one was called, the movie. Oh, forget that. There was a movie where everybody just forgot who the Beatles were except for one guy, and then his music became really popular. Yeah. Anyway, but Nick, welcome to the show. And sorry about your Beatles job there, but I do hear through the grapevine that you apparently really like something about banana lambs.
Yeah, it's a Liverpool thing. They adopted this mashup statue thing together. So as a trading port, and of course we had all the shipyards and the shipbuilding here, they did a lot of trade. And so they created this rather strange Frankenstein a statue, which is half lamb and half banana. And I'm not going to tell you where the banana part connects to the lamb. You've got to look it up.
All right. On that disturbing note, can you give us a high level overview of Quintic?
Yeah, certainly. So Quintic is almost the ideal solution for me to be working with because, as you've alluded to, it's about solving puzzles. And puzzles can be planning puzzles. They can be how to be more efficient. They can be your sustainability puzzles. And it was built in its original format to solve all the world's puzzles. And, you know, why I said that I've got the best role is because we can attack all kinds of different industries, all kinds of puzzles, from air traffic controllers through manufacturing, production, food. And we're really heavy now on the sustainability part and how we can bring that through into the planning process and really give the information to the users and help the managers drive sustainability into the DNA of their company.
How do you actually end up in that career in the first place then? I mean, this is a major step. It's a huge area you stepped into. How did you get into it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like solutions that empower people. That there are many products out there that kind of actually make the person's life dumber, you know. And Greg's going to talk about HR and those kind of things. I like solutions that make the person's life better. So if you can help a planner come up with a better solution, if you can stop one manager saying that he should have done it one way and then another manager saying they should have done it a different way, you can have those standards built in. Then you can really drive something that's empowering for people. You can bring other parts of your organization together. You haven't got to be in that very, hate to say it, male-oriented manufacturing process. If you've got people with the skills, you centralize your data, you get rid of those spreadsheets that are costing you money, bring it into the planning solution, and then you can start to bring all the skills that you've got available in your organization together to really produce that perfect plan.
Wow.
I'm guessing that passion that you've got the natural step was to go into Logic Factory so that you could do it more often with more customers. Is that a fair guess?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I get it.
Just seem to like putting all those puzzles together of what's happening both just in the world and then with all the companies that you're working with the customers, and when you're engaged with the customer, what does a typical customer engagement look like for you?
Well, we're probably a little bit more in a customer's face than they used to be honest, because we really are enthusiastic about what we do. And sometimes, you're dealing with experts, and they're true experts. They really know their case. They really know their subject matter, but they sometimes need some help in seeing the opportunities, the ways forward. The number of times I've been in transport offices at stupid o'clock in the morning, and the transport manager's been saying to a driver, "You're going to take this vehicle out," and the driver's going, "No, it won't fit. It's a 17-ton, not a 13-ton vehicle." And then the manager has to take him outside and measure it and find out that the wing mirrors are smaller, so it fits. People can't always see all these options, the routes through, because they get fixed on this is what I normally do. And yeah, we have to help people break through some of those silos, those stilted, simple ways of thinking.
So you're just pushy, basically.
Hey, don't you start over there, Mr. Australian.
Good day.
Is it pushy, or is it just helpful with getting people to realize what's best for them?
It's helpful, yeah. I joke and say it's pushy, but no, it's about really working together as a team. And hey, there's so many industries out there. Mads has talked about some of the disruptive things that are going on in sustainability that are driving things forward. So yeah, we have to go in there and disrupt things. And good technology is disruptive, and therefore good systems are.
You bet. So what are the kind of the common problems that you're encountering with these customers then?
Well, the typical problems are the sort of repetition of the same answer every day or every plan, because planning is a time boxed exercise. We use a stupid phrase that an okay plan that's available on time is better than a great plan that's late, because you can't execute that. But the key thing is, can you do more in that time? And if you've got the right tools, and I know we're going to talk about it later, how we can link things together, you can do more with that time. Get that great plan, or even look at multiple options in there, and also look at a broader range of things. So we talked about sustainability, very important now, but how do you balance all those KPIs in the planner's head? They've got thousands of options. And then they've got to think about all these other KPIs. And, we're seeing the drive for Industry 4 using data, making it produce more than just recording. And Industry 5 is going to take us into that personalization space of bespoke products, and, the human being more centric to the results. How do planners balance this out? Well, you put the right tools in place.
Hey, you kind of touched on a little bit about how you're helping with solving these problems with the right tools, but can you give me a little more detail of like really how you are helping to create solutions for the typical customer problem?
Yeah, so a lot of it is about really driving that efficiency. So a great project for us is not a project where somebody is trying to make savings as such, or shrink their company. You want to be somebody that's innovating, looking for that option, that way forward. And Andrew was talking about production and that side of thing. It's about linking that together with doing more with what you've got, and then adding on. So you've already got the processes in place to really get value, the return on the investment of your new equipment and your systems. We can be looking at return on investment on the projects measured in months, which on major sort of re-engineering, reprocess organization projects, again, as the guy said, it's pretty impressive in the production world.
Yeah. So with off the record, this ignoring
there's no one else here, is there?
This is being broadcast to the world right now. Off the record, what is it that you wish most customers knew?
I think that most customers have are used to their process. They're used to solving the problems that they've got. And actually, they need to look, it's an old glib sort of phrase, but working smarter, not harder. If you can work that smarter piece, do more with the time, do more with the resource, make less waste, drive value from secondary products. Matt was talking about the circular economy and sustainability. Well, actually, why are we not cutting down on the byproducts that we use? Are there byproducts that are offcuts? Let's say are you cutting a block of cheese? Can you not take those offcuts and use it to make a cheese quiche, for example? Why are you getting a fresh block out?
Yeah.
All those kind of things apply in many, many different business cases.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes the partnership between XD and the Logic Factory great, and how do we take that forward?
Yeah, well, hey, yeah. So the beauty of it is that XDI and the Logic Factory together, using the DELMIA portfolio and some of the other DS products, we can really produce that end-to-end solution. So, for example, you've got SolidWorks there. You can be designing your product, but what's it going to do when you actually put it into production? How's it going to work with your bottleneck resources? Well, we talk about virtual twins, and of course, all the products in the range can do the virtual twin. But with a really great planning tool, you can actually run those scenarios. What's it going to do to me? Where should I move my production around? And then from there, you're producing your plan. You're sending it out to the execution. And you want that, again, that circular loop of bringing the production information, what's actually going on, even what's broken down. How can you react quicker? The quicker you can react, the quicker you can get value from data, the more value, more revenue, bigger profit, more sustainable your organization is. And I really see that the link up between XDI and the Logic Factory is going to help bring that to a really broad range of customers.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see how we can extend what maybe I'm calling the critical thread from engineering through to manufacturing, but how we bring that planning piece into it, how we bring that supply chain into it far more real time and benefit from that. Yeah, it's great. Good. Thank you, Nick.
No problem.
Yeah, Nick, thanks for joining this and talking about how you're just basically a puzzle master, I think, because you're and diving in more with you, it sounds like you're looking at all of these big pictures, all these things that are happening, and trying to help everybody put all these pieces together in ways that maybe a just human brain by itself can't actually do. And by using the solutions, being able to actually look at things that we just can't come up with kind of on our own.
But it's not making that human simpleton. It's empowering them. It's making them do more, making their life better.
Yeah, which is awesome. So thanks for helping to make lives better. And thanks for your time on the show.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Andrew, I was thinking we should dive into maybe a different approach to things. I want to bring on Greg, who's actually been in HR and talent acquisition for the last decade. He's worked in retail, he's worked in tech, financial tech, marketing, advertising, and now he's working with the manufacturing and engineering industries in HR.
Yeah, Grumpy Greg, as we know him better each day, as you'll soon find out, everyone, is going to be talking all about getting people into a better position to get themselves into roles that they love doing. So let's bring him right in. I'm not sure what it's got to do with this whole PLM show, but I think we're about to find out.
Well, it's because we always talk to the folks who are doing the work of helping the customer's life get better and helping all of that, but we never really talk to the guys who are finding the people that are willing to make all of this happen. So that's why we have apparently Grumpy Greg. Welcome, Grumpy Greg. Who starts off laughing and trying to get rid of that reputation. But Greg, welcome to the show. We've kind of given your professional overview a little bit, but what is it that you like to say? What is it about you that makes you you? What's your elevator speech?
Yeah, High level from the Denver area. So the trains made it to Denver at this point, Colorado. Originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but I enjoy nothing more than connecting people to work that they're excited about doing, work that they were made to do, work that they're good at, right? You can never discount the importance of having, you know, people who are motivated properly and also having a cohesive team that works well together.
Very good. Very good. So tell us a little bit more about you. Did we do the elevator pitch?
We did elevator, but he went back to telling us about, you know, work again. I want to hear just any fun facts about you, Greg.
Yeah.
Oh man, fun facts about me. What do I like to do in the off time? I'm a big gamer, so when I say games, that's all inclusive. We're talking board games, video games, yard games, card games, you name it. It's all around hanging out with people, usually around a table online, especially post COVID. Also enjoy spending a lot of time with family. We've got 2 kids. We're in the middle of an adoption process, so one more on the way. It sounds like it might be a year or 2 before that fully comes through, but exciting stuff. And then enjoy camping, hiking, being outside. I live in a gorgeous part of the country, so camping during the summer, skiing during the winter, as Andrew knows.
You bet.
Those but sometimes
quickly, let's just go back to adoption.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I don't know if you've got to that
Thank
stage
you.
yet, but that's phenomenal. And where's your little one going to be coming from?
Yeah, coming from India. We have received approval from both U.S. immigration and India's government to say, yes, you can bring somebody from India into the U.S.
Fantastic.
And now we're just waiting in the matching phase. And once we get matched, it'll probably be another 9 to 12 months before
that's awesome
over there. So
what brought that about?
Yeah, we've always said it. I met my wife about 9 years ago, and we've always said that, hey, if we can have 2 kids, great, but we're going to stop at 2 and then try and adopt. And who knows what's going to happen after the adoption process once we get settled in. I don't want to get too far ahead, but
and then she saw that you still weren't worn out. You didn't lack energy still. She said, we better get another one. I'm going to wear this guy out.
That's right. As much as he tries.
So
hard to do.
Is navigating the HR world harder or easier than navigating this whole adoption process?
It depends on the day. Depends on the day for sure. Lots of paperwork either way. That's what HR is known for, right?
So did you dive into HR because you wanted to do a lot of paperwork?
No, not at all. Not at all. For me, it came probably about 15 years ago. I was reading a Gallup report, which they do an annual kind of state of the workplace report every year. And came out and said around 32% of people are actively engaged at work. And I kind of sit back on that and go, man, that means what, 68% of people are going home disengaged. They're probably exhausted. They're not able to invest into their families and their friends and their communities. And it's one of those that I think can make it's a big game changer. I think it would be a game changer, not only in the workplace, but worldwide. And that's in the US, right? 32% in the US. I think worldwide, if we're looking at worldwide collective numbers, it's around 22%. So a 10% drop there. So it's exciting to be able to work with people all over the world. I started this morning talking to a couple guys in Europe and France, and it's good. It's exciting.
Wow. Good. So where does the whole work-life balance thing fit into all of this?
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is my goal. This is my philosophy on it. We want to make sure that people are excited about what they're doing. We want to make sure that people are successful across all of their roles, right? Just me personally, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother and a brother-in-law, I'm a friend, but also I'm a partner here at XD Innovation. I partner with people all over the world. And so I want to be successful across all of those roles. And if I'm not successful in one of them, it's going to impact the others as hard as I might try. As hard as I might try not.
Yeah, totally agree. You've got balance. As they say, it's balance, isn't it? Whereas most people misunderstand it as, work less and have more personal time. It's actually a balance, as they say, and loving both a piece of it. Okay, good. So what are the differences you found so far between HR in the product life cycle versus other industries you've been in?
Yeah, good question. So Brian mentioned handful of different industries: marketing and advertising, tech, fintech, retail. There's some pretty big differences just in the nature of people across the board. So in retail, everyone's pretty direct and to the point, and usually has a Red Bull or two in their system. So quite a bit of caffeine to keep them moving and moving quickly. Then you've got the sales and marketing side of things, where you jump into a conversation with them about what they want to do, and all they're focused on is telling you what you want to hear that they can do. And so trying to navigate through that and pull, and it's not across the board, right? There's certainly outliers, but trying to pull some information that may not be readily available. And then you get to the PLM manufacturing side of things, and everyone is, I don't want to say anything about other industries, but it's one of my favorites to work in, because everyone's usually pretty honest about who they are and what they do and what they haven't done. The issue is, though, they can sometimes go into a little too much detail. So, having conversations with people, they can be long conversations from time to time.
Well, I've got to say, I'm not sure about the honesty piece. I was in an interview the other day, and we were asking, there were some technical questions being asked. And when we asked the question, it went silent. All we could hear was the and we had to say, "Are you on ChatGPT?"
Yeah, that's right.
It up? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you definitely have to have kind of a meter or a sense for those answers. When you get an honest answer, it's an honest answer. But when it's dishonest, it's pretty easily seen. So I wouldn't recommend it.
I think the keyboard in the background gave it away, really. But yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
You got it.
Yeah.
So you've been in this field, you've been looking at, it sounds like you're talking to a lot of people, looking at a lot of resumes. And do you have anything that comes to mind as, I don't know, let's go with like the top 5 Greg suggestions of things that people should do, especially as they're focusing on, making stuff look good in the PLM world?
Yeah. One thing that Andrew and I were talking about earlier is length of resumes, right? Do we have one resume or a 1-pager versus 15-page? Depending on your experience level, it's okay not to keep everything to a page. It's okay not to be too big. But number one, I would say, is find ways to consolidate, right? A lot of times, especially in PLM and manufacturing, there's a ton of skills, right? Whether they're technical skills, whether they're things you've done, find ways to consolidate and put those in easily readable buckets, as I would say. So that's number one. Number two, you don't have to answer everything. So on the flip side, I don't want to go through a 15-page resume, right? If it's 3-page, that's great. But you don't have to have an answer for everything. Feel free to leave some vagueness, right? It gives me a reason to call you, be like, oh, I've got some questions because everything wasn't answered on the resume. I would almost think of the resume as a taster, right? That's more big picture. But yeah, number two is you don't have to answer everything.
It's your teaser trailer.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's your teaser trailer. It just gets people excited and want to call you, right? That's the goal of the resume.
People by people, not resumes.
By,
absolutely. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Number three, put relevant information at the top. I see a lot of resumes out there with, education is the first thing listed. Education is great. I'm excited about it, but not as excited about what you've been doing, the certifications that you got more recently. So the more relevant information up top, especially if it's a 3-page resume or a 15-page, and maybe the first page is all that's going to be read, right? So that's part of it. Number 4, I'd say, is numbers is king. I usually say this in like a sales context because revenue, quota numbers, extremely important, but it's also important on the PLM manufacturing side, right? Costs are a huge topic of conversation. Being able to say, I saved X amount of dollars or X percentage, I improved a process so that it was faster by X percentage. They speak loudly. So don't be afraid to throw the numbers on the resume there. And then number 5, and what I would say is most important, is throw some personality on the resume. It can get boring looking through resumes all day long and LinkedIn profiles. Put your personality on there. We want to see what you're excited about, what you're passionate about, both personally and professionally. So don't be afraid to show a little color on the resume.
So speaking of numbers and go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was going to summarize in my mind. Go for it.
I was going to ask, just speaking of numbers and personality, what is a 14er?
Oh, yes. A 14er is a 14,000 foot mountain.
And you've climbed how many of these?
I've climbed 11 of these, and I made it to the 11th. And, you know, I don't want to go too off topic here. I made it to the top of the 11th and brought a 6-pack of beer and was so excited to share it with friends. And we look over the top and there's a cloud coming in, and it's a huge thunderstorm blizzard. And so we had to get down pretty quickly. But after that, I was like, you know, all of these look the same. So maybe I need to move to 13ers. There's a little more greenery. It's a little less crowded.
Love it. There's the guy who did the 14 Peaks or something like that. I'm sure you've seen that documentary on Netflix, et cetera, et cetera. So fascinating, this separate conversation. And he talked to you about a live show we did, who guy done Everest 7 times.
No way.
Conversation. Yeah. He was on the live show.
I can't even
in summary, not a 1-page resume. Please, no chance you are going to get your stuff into a 1-page resume. I don't care which country in the world you're in. 1 page ain't cutting it. 15 pages, I don't know which country you're in, it ain't working in the real world. So let's, as Dirk said, let's get it into a reasonable size of resume so it's consumable. Summarize, but not too much. Don't cut it down to 1 page. Show proof of good performance. I think you said numbers. So proof of good performance. I saved money, I brought a great return on investment, or I hit my sales targets, etc. You're right. And above all else, get some personality in there. I agree. Be different. Don't just log it all out. Get some personality in there. Great. Love it. Hopefully that's a good summary.
Yeah, that's great.
And I can tell that Andrew's introduction was accurate, because this was definitely a very grumpy discussion you had here. So thanks.
Yeah, you can tell, hey?
But yeah, thanks for joining us and for taking a time out of your LinkedIn profile and resume reviewing to talk a bit. And yeah, we'll look forward to some more discussions in the future.
Happy to. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks. So, well, Andrew, I would say that we had a pretty fun and informative show today, filled with lots of stuff. And I hope our audience feels the same and had a lot that they grabbed from this, maybe learned a little thing. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share here?
2 things. One, the show is changing its format as we move forward. I'm going to come back to you on that to describe that. 2, we're actually going to be doing a lot more kind of shows which are going to be related to what I'm calling the critical thread. Everybody's talking about digital thread. I don't care
what's
if you're
your
an ERP.
definition of the critical thread?
How do you get an idea into the hands of a customer as a product? To me, that is the critical thread. You can talk about finance, you can talk about CRM, you can talk about all of these other different enterprise applications, but the bottom line is it's your product. It's getting the idea into the hands of your customer so they can use it and love it. So we're going to talk a lot more about that critical thread. We're going to look at it at an industry level, whether it's aerospace defense, whether it's transportation, automation, whether it's industrial equipment, et cetera, CPG. We're going into all of that. So we got lots more killer content to come over the weeks and months ahead. Really excited to do that and to bring that to you. And then you're changing the regular format of the show on almost a weekly basis, Brian. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we decided that getting everybody together for a monthly live show like this is great and fun, and we'll still want to do that occasionally, but we wanted to put out some more regular content. So we're going to be doing some smaller interviews, basically some of the sections that you would have seen on this show, and then releasing those weekly, diving into all sorts of fun stuff from, you know, people who've had decades and decades and decades of experience in this film, watching it in this industry, watching it change from you know, the emergence of like solar calculators to what we're doing now with all these, you know, Quintic solutions and analyzing all these puzzle pieces together. And so watching that happen through, really cool, being able to dive in, as we kind of hinted at various sections, especially with Håkan was talking about some more specific sections of what's going on in EuroNorth and diving into some more in-depth discussions there. So our goal is really to give some smaller, digestible content that is going to be really informative and hopefully entertaining.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
That's going to be our critical thread for the show.
Beautiful. Done. Let's
Thanks,
finish
everybody.
it up.
Yeah.
Thank you,
for
everyone.
joining us. And
Pleasure.
we hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.
You bet.
And with that, we're out of here.
Let's go.